basic fundamental principle of the article is that no matter what problem you've got either on the streets, whether it be with people complaining about race, religion, culture, everything goes back to the government and how the government run. And what you mustn't have is that when a government changes, it changes their approach to the way things are dealt with. So what the article does, it gives every party, whether you're left, right or centre, that you've got just one way of approaching all problems, and you've got basic principles of how you represent someone, how you respond to someone, and how you then push forward the way you deal with all problems. And the things, it shouldn't vary whether your colours are blue, red or purple. You should have exactly the same principles going forward of the way you represent people. And I think that's basically what the article is. Because what you don't want is that when Red are in power, they say, oh, we didn't know what was going on. That's why one of the principles is you have a 3-month takeover. Whenever someone's coming into government, you just hold on for 3 months and you have everybody sees what the books are. That's what you can't have. You can't have a 3-month campaign to go into government, and as soon as you get in there, you do absolutely nothing just because the last lot didn't actually tell you the truth. And if they don't tell you the truth, then they should go to court. You shouldn't be able to lie and say, oh, we've got a black hole or we haven't got no money. It's not their money, it's ours. It's our money. They represent us. And that sounds strange, but I would like to see governments run more like a good trade union than what I would anything else, because it's responsibility. If I didn't do my job as a branch secretary, I'd get sacked. They would vote me out. And not just at an election, I could get voted out any time if I didn't represent my members properly. And I took that responsibility for 39 years, and I never got voted out once. And I had a very good success rate as a trade union rep. So I just think you must have fundamental principles and practices of the way governments work. And we haven't got that. They just make it up as they go along. They're not going to want it. I don't even think some of the parties trying to get into it. I'm not going to say parties, but there's certain parties trying to get into government. I think they want the corruption, because it suits them because they make money, they do what they want, and there's no control. The control should be by the people that you're representing that vote you in, not by the people that sit. As Tony Benn once said, if you can't vote people out, you've not got democracy. And at the moment, we can't get rid of them. Once they're in for 4 years, they can do what they like, and there's not a thing we can do about it. And I just don't think that's right.
Speaking about corruption, Michael, reference the Ricky Jones, the Labour councillor that just got not guilty at court. How does that work out when Lucy Connolly got 31 months?
The thing being is that you're now going into the realms of law. Now, my document is telling governments how to work. The one thing I would say is I don't understand who actually told Lucy Connolly to plead guilty.
Ill advice.
It's the most. Well, I've never pled guilty to anything. From about 14, I don't think I've ever said yes, I've done it. So why would you do that? The point is, what that Ricky Jones done, he played the game, he pled not guilty, he started talking about racial equality, he started talking about I've got ADHD, he brought all these things in, and he went with his peers, he went against 12 jury members. So you always go for a jury because you've got more chance to get off. You would never plead guilty. If people who are banged to rights don't plead guilty, and all of those people, that poor chap that passed away in jail, it was outrageous. But he pled guilty.
Peter Lynch.
Why did Peter Lynch? Why did he plead guilty? He should have said no, I'm not guilty. I'll go to trial. And I reckon most of those, I would have said 40, maybe even 40 to 60% of those people who pled guilty would have got off. Either the CPS wouldn't have pursued after those cases, and when you got to court, you got a good chance of getting off. So I think they was ill-advised. I'm not saying I can't speak about that case because I've not looked into it. It sounds outrageous, but you're comparing someone who pled not guilty, someone who pled guilty, and we're still waiting for the other two guys who beat up the policeman. But they pled not guilty, didn't they? They went to a trial. They've been found guilty, but we've not got them. There are the two Pakistani chaps who hit the police officer in the face.
Yeah,
they
the
went
airport.
to trial. Now, if they'd have pled guilty, they'd have to go straight in. But no, at least their solicitor said, no, plead not guilty, we take this to court.
But what I don't understand is if you're caught on camera and you're out in public at a rally and it's all over the internet for all to see, you're basically like, you've been caught out. Well, how can you just lie when they've got evidential proof of the video?
Because the law is, I've sort of dealt with the law in other parts of my job, the law is a funny thing. The law isn't as black and white as that. If you've been found guilty, but there's always going to be circumstantial evidence, there's going to be evidence you're going to bring into play, and when you speak to a jury, they're going to take that into account. So you can actually, how many times do you see someone commit murder and they offer them a better charge if they commit manslaughter? Because straight away, they fought the charge. If they'd have pleaded guilty, they'd have been done for murder. But because they pled not guilty, they're doing now about manslaughter. When you go for a manslaughter
But what if someone's caught on camera committing murder? as clear as day is when he was saying about going cutting throats.
There'd be other circumstances. If you read what that Ricky Jones was saying, he was bringing everything into play. He had a good solicitor. He's had problems. He's been under stress. He's done all this. And the thing is, you sway a jury. That's why people go for jury, because you can actually, I don't say you can lie, but you can sort of put as many angles as you like coming in. And the thing is with a jury, if they believe it, you're let off. And I ain't saying it's right, but I mean he was given good advice. I'm afraid all of the people, I don't like to put it into race, but all of the people out on the day that defending our rights was given poor advice. And personally, I think we should find who the solicitors were and give them a bit of publicity. You know, who were they? Who gave this stupid advice? So, plead guilty, get it over with. That's what they was told. Plead guilty, get it over with. There's no such thing. Once you go out there, you're confronted by the law and police. You get it over in your right time, not fast. It just doesn't work. But still, getting back to the article, all them arguments is that with reference to the way all government should work, is that with the way the sort of the legal system is, the way we're running the country, the way they're sort of spending money on climate change, on geoengineering, all these sorts of things, is that we should have a say. I can't believe Keir Starmer was put in by the Labour Party. I actually think, to be honest, I think the Tories put him in because he's doing such a great job. Because he's been that bad. I've seen people thinking about voting Conservative again. He had 14 years. An absolute abysmal Conservative, and Labour are so bad. People have. I think the trouble is you've got a two-party corrupt system that just basically swaps one for the other. You've got one's in, and they're so bad, and they foul it up. They then put the other one in, then they're so bad. And all we're doing is batting and balling the same political system, the same principles, and that's what's got to change. If you change that, you change everything. If they all work to rules and they've all got to follow, you know, for instance, say the 3 months, that if you're coming into pay, you should know what the state of the country is. I mean, who does a business plan, bids for a business, and says, oh, don't show me the accounts, I don't want to know what your business is, but I'm going to pay you $5 million for that and let's hope it works. It won't work.
Some more to the point. How do we get Starmer? How do we oost him out of power? How do we get him out of number 10?
Well,
because we can't wait till 2029.
Well, I don't think my article's going to do that. I mean, it's not that good. no. But the point is though, even with Starmer, what I would say, if my article was in place, or our article was in place, if it was in place, Starmer couldn't be as bad as he is. That's the point. Rishi Sunak couldn't be as bad as he was. I mean, didn't you notice the coincidence that as soon as they announced there's going to be an election, Barack Obama visited number 10. He was there as soon as he announced the election. As soon as Starmer won the election, Bill Gates was meeting him in a closed meeting.
Yeah.
The people stupid that they think that's a coincidence. You've got these, Americans that everyone's slagging off.
Larry Fink was meeting up with Starmer. Yeah.
We won't go into the who's controlling the world type thing, but all we can worry about in our little world is who's controlling our government. And if the government, we need to get some control back off the government. We've got to get control of the government because that's what they're there to do. I mean,
well, the government serve the people. We don't serve the government.
No. It's their job to serve us.
Yeah.
That's what they're there to do.
But it's not. It doesn't feel like that now. It's like they're trying to put the frighteners in everyone.
I'll give you a prime example. I got a letter from my MP, I'd say 6 to 8 weeks ago, and he was saying we want to meet up with the people of the area and we're going to talk about electric bikes and we're going to talk about all sorts of nonsense like that. And in the same week he wrote me that letter, they went to Parliament and voted the abortion law in. Well, personally, I'd rather talk about that. Surely, what you're telling me, so while you're talking to me about how many electric bikes are on the corner of my street, you're going to Parliament without my consent and voting on that abortion law that basically says you can abort a baby right up to birth. I think that's a little bit important, surely. Isn't it a bit more important than an electric scooter? And that's the way it works, is that what they do, they negotiate what they want you to. They give you all the menial tasks, all the little things that don't matter. They say, oh, look, we're consulting with you. But when it comes to any finance, laws, whether it's be laws to sort of control us, or whether it's the laws on the abortion, whether it's the laws on anything, they just do it without it. I just don't think, I've got a lot of trust in government to vote to someone and say, well, you go away and do what you want, and in 5 years' time, when you've totally fouled it up, when we've got no money, let's have the other colour in, because they can come in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have them in for 5 years and they can foul it up. And let's have it still red and blue. And to be honest, the yellows are not much better either. I wouldn't put them in either. I'm not a fan of many
Laura,
political parties.
Touch base on all of this?
I would like to touch base on the fact that the only way that we are going to deal with the situation that we've got is by dealing with the legal parameters, like they have done at the Bell in Epping, which was vastly covered by Adam Brooks, SXPR, and credit needs to be gone to him because he did organise a peaceful protest there. I think that we need to go down those roads because they're the only way we're going to get a result. So what they've done is they've illegally gone back to the board and they've said, well, you need change of use to suddenly turn this from this use into this use. For some reason, the government think that they can just come in and ride roughshod over everything that we have taken for granted, which is that if they have got hotels that are for a certain kind of use, they can now just be completely overrun for a different kind of use. That doesn't apply to us who are living in our houses. If we want to even drop a curb, we would have to go to the council, apply for planning, and it could very well be that we can't do that because bats have to be protected and goodness knows whatever they throw at you. They come over, they want to do a whole investigation into where you live, they want to look at your premises, they want to make sure you're not harming any wildlife. But now they've taken away, Angela Rayner's just declared that she's going to build, and Rachel Reeves has said that they're taking away all protection for, was it Rachel Reeves? I can't remember now. One of them's taking away protection for bats and protection for something else. I can't remember what it was.
Probably silkworm.
But now people can just build willy-nilly how they want. But you think about in your life what you want to do, drop a curb to get a car on the drive, or change your garage into, I don't know, a spare accommodation. Maybe you want to move your mum in. So we do need to go down these legal routes because they are the only way of fighting fire with fire. Now we stand by. I think Stephen Barrett, the barrister, is putting together an action. I'm pretty sure that's what I read on X, that he is going to look to put his talents as a barrister towards what is going on here with just flouting the law. That is what we need to be looking at right now, is we need to look at how they're getting away with certain actions. And if we are going to go down that route, and we are going to say to the government, what are you doing? Why are you changing the law just to suit your own mandates and your own purposes? On the other hand, you're not delivering all the things that you said. If everybody remembers, the run-up to the election in 2024 was all about GB Energy, we're going to lower your prices by £300, was it, for energy at home, something like that.
They've been stitched up.
And
Farmers.
Nothing's happened. And also, from a health point of view, you want us to eat processed lab-grown food. How is that healthy?
Didn't King Charles give his royal assent to that?
And he gave his royal assent when he owns the Duchy label.
Yep.
That doesn't stack up. And how's the NHS going to cope with people coming in with all kinds of illnesses related to these processed foods? So we really have to stick to the legal track. You know, a precedent has been set, as I said, by Adam Brooks, SXPR, which has gone down that legal route. You want to use this hotel for anything other than tourism that generates money into the area, that enhances the area. Now you want to use it as accommodation, then you need to have the right usage to use it as that accommodation. And these are the tracks that we need to go down. We need to be able to speak our truth like this legally, and that way we can't be silenced or censored because now we're just sticking to the facts. I will just say one thing, and that is that I do not understand why Wayne O'Rourke I understand why he was locked up and what he said. I don't condone it. I told him that at the time. I was one of his followers. But, you know, people were upset, they were aggravated. I understand how it came about. What I don't understand is that he actually is a carer for his disabled wife. So while Ricky Jones has had this luxury of being able to plead not guilty, Wayne and many others didn't have that luxury. So that isn't fair. That's an unjust system.
Not. Yeah.
We have got human rights lawyers coming in left, right and centre making absolute vast fortunes. They want to the whole Afghan debacle. Now we've got human rights lawyers that are putting together case law for billions of pounds because the Afghans, should be able to claim something back. The lawyers are going to be making a fortune out of it. Why are we not doing the same for the human rights that were evaded for people like Wayne, who did? I am not condoning what he said. It wasn't the right thing to say.
Hurty words.
Yes, but why haven't they been given the same kind of discretion that the Manchester thugs have been given, that everybody is being given? We can't give discretion to one side and not to the other. And they were browbeaten, they were frightened. I've read.
But I've already said this. The left are far more protected than the right are.
Yes, and that's two-tier as well.
That's two-tier judiciary.
We've just got two-tier everything.
Yeah.
And for somebody that is working in the legal side of things, it's an embarrassment that we are put through these extensive amount of learning and education and everybody's equal without fear or favour, and then this, and it is inexplicable. You cannot condone what is happening to one person and not to another. Sorry, Michael, you were about to say
I was just
something.
going to say, no, it was only on the news tonight, actually, just before I left this evening, they said now, just hitting Starmer's planet, 14 councils have now announced that they cannot afford the hotels and the cost the migrants have in. So the councils are now starting to fight back and saying, look, you're not giving us any more money, because as a council, they don't extend your budget unless they're going to start paying them as well. They might pay, but they're saying there's 14 councils tonight that wrote to the government saying we cannot afford these people in our area because we've got no more money to deal with all the on-costs of everything they want, whatever that be. I couldn't even list it because it's too embarrassing of what they seem to get. But the point being is the council's saying we can't afford it. So the point is, the worm's turning there, but the point is why we're doing this, there's another 2,000 coming in off the boat. Why we're doing this, the government are still doing what they want. And I'll still bring that back to the article we're talking about. The article is that if that article was in place, they couldn't do what they're doing now. If that article was in place, there'd be, I'd say, 80% of the problems we deal with on a daily basis, if all governments had to work to a basic, good, strong principle of proper representation and dealing with the people that voted you in, we would have none of these problems now.
The past the post system needs to go.
Well, yeah, it's the thing about past the post system is that a lot of people fear past the post system because I know for a fact the right groups do it. In the last couple of years, I've been studying. Like I've actually I've been on the emailing list of a lot of far right groups, and they fear that system because they say that minorities will get it. That's why they don't want, a change in the voting system. But the point is then, so what? You fear a few minorities getting in, but you don't worry about all the minorities that are going to invade those big parties and are going to be running the country on a corrupt system. I'm not really sure where you're coming from. I can't work it out. Oh no, we won't have a councillor coming in, but what we do, we'll have all the sort of different various people who are in government now that are not for this country. But that's all right. We'll just leave that. So I do worry when people think first past the post. We have mentioned that maybe you should look at the system of having to be a British MP, you've got to have certain values, and I don't think it's swearing allegiance to the king, because I don't think he's that allegiance to us anyway. But you've got to start looking at, and part of our article was looking at the terms and condition of employment. They're employees. They're doing a job. Do your job. That's what you've got to do. A member of parliament is nothing else but an overpaid employee. And I say overpaid because very few of them are doing their job.
And like you said, there's too many. There's too much of an overlap with jobs.
Well, the thing,
which creates too much bureaucracy.
I come from a very sort of 39 years in the council background, and I would say, and there'll probably be a few people gasping who work in there, I think you could cut back councils, members of parliament could cut back by a third quite comfortably, and a lot of councils could lose 50% of their councillors. We just went through the Tory government, we had 7 to 8 years of austerity.
Yep.
Most council staff was cut back by thousands upon thousands. How many councillors did we lose in that time? None. How many MPs did we lose in that time? None. So we didn't cut back on members of parliament, we didn't cut back on councillors, but we cut back on thousands of members of staff. My council alone went from 2,700 to 1,900. As soon as there was a problem, I don't want to mention it, as soon as Grenfell happened, we took on 350 staff. Because we didn't have enough. We never had the staff. We had one block of flats. satellite, and we couldn't cope. We took on 350 new staff just to deal with that block of flats because we were so cut back by the Tories that we couldn't do it. We didn't lose any councillors. We didn't cut back on MPs. We've still got exactly the same structure in Parliament as councils as what it was before. So how can you have we didn't have a pay rise for 7 years in local government. We accepted it. The country's in a bit of a state. How many pay rises the MP had within them 7 years? Total waste of time.
I'll read this article out now. So I'm going to read Michael and Laura's article out. So here we go. So it's called Parliament Reborn. We must take immediate action on the numerous issues we face from corrupt governments and aquatic practices. If not, we are to blame. Working together for the common good of our country. The government must be elected by the votes of the people and not determined by the system. Overturning the will of the majority. Professional representation and accountability of the people is not complicated. We cannot have a system that only benefits itself any longer. God bless us all. Parliament have lost fundamental true values. All basic functions and principles are being disapplied. To be voted by the people in a fair system, to represent the people on all matters of the day, to be accountable to the people on all decisions, to be removed when it fails to govern to expected standards. Now you've got the current system. So the 21st century Parliament allows HM government from day one of gaining office to be unaccountable. Decisions are taken locally, nationally, globally, and every effort made to avoid consultation and debate. The remaining parties deemed as opposition seem to have all the answers but have no powers. They cannot affect decisions or consequences. When the roles are reversed, the losing government seem to see the light and realise where they went wrong and know exactly what they need to do, which for some reason they were completely unable to do when they were in power. The new government immediately state that due to the last government's actions, policies and spending, they cannot fulfil pre-election promises, and they then fall into the accepted norm of all previous governments, returning to the cycle of no consultation, no debate and no representation. In summary, we have a farce of modern politics. We are in a merry-go-round of a corrupt uni-party system that plays the blame game. The voting system of first past the post is not fit for purpose. The country is divided into geographical areas. The parties propose one candidate based on most votes won. This is repeated around the country, then Parliament is formed by the party with the most seats. A large majority win allows them to govern with less interference from the other parties. There are variables to this system, but it is the first past the post system that needs to change. This leaves us with two parties changing from opposition to government of the day over a 5-year term. The biggest issue with this system is how geographical areas and population sizes affect results. This is why both parties argue and lose sleep over boundary changes. The first past the post system creates an unfair situation where a smaller party can get millions more votes than another but win far fewer seats. For example, Reform got 5 million votes but only 5 MPs, while the Liberal Democrats had 3.7 million votes and won 75 MPs. Another clear case was UKIP with 3.5 million votes and 2 MPs, compared to the SNP's 2.7 million votes and 67 MPs. This is not a fair representation of what the British public wants, known as proportional representation. The reason the two main parties do not want proportional representation is that it would allow smaller parties to gain more seats. It would also put them in a position that they would need to fight for all votes and all seats throughout the country, and the system of safe and vulnerable seats would be lost. We've accepted that the parties can just continuously keep exchanging government for opposition with no challenge or recourse to their actions and continued corrupt practices. The main drawback to proportional representation is extreme minority groups gaining MPs. This will be dealt with by the cancellation of anything other than British MPs for British issues only. Now, how we move towards a better government? Handover period. A simple process over an agreed period of full and frank exchange, including the country's finances, all existing committed projects, full access granted to all parties, in the general election, this would stop the incoming government using the correct practice of declaring no knowledge of matters, thus removing the immediate excuse and easy option of reneging on all pre-election promises. Cabinet. Within this same period, all parties must, with the obvious allowances of election results, name the new cabinet. This is vital. The public must know who will be in key positions, whether voting for an individual MP or a member of the cabinet. No vote on all ballot forms. So, on all ballot papers, a no vote must be an option. If the no votes are equal to or outnumber the votes for the winning candidate, the area must be rerun, as per by-election protocols, in conjunction with mandatory voting. One cannot be enacted without others being in place. Pre-election promises. Within the election campaign, the fundamental aim and promises to the public on why they should vote for you. If these pledges are subsequently backtracked or changed, then this shows an unfit to govern status, and re-election should be run with the costs borne by the reneging party. An example of this happened in 2024 general election, where Labour U-turned on the majority of their pre-election campaigns. It is unacceptable. Limits on government powers. So the lack of trust and confidence in government is rife, especially in major decisions such as war or geoengineering. The government cannot undertake such decisions on our behalf without debate and consultation. Informed decision must take place with the public and party members. Another key example of this is the alleged £11.3 billion on the so-called Foreign Climate Aid, the list of improvements for discussion and the new ministerial code. Leaving or gaining office. So a mechanism to remove government from power before their term ends if they fail to meet their legal or political duties, or if they are involved in corruption or misrepresentation. There could be a mid-term appraisal of the government if 50% of the total number of people that voted for the government sign a petition to trigger a general election. Then Parliament should hold a full debate about the issues raised, leading to the full election. As Tony Benn, a former MP, once asked, "What power do you have? Where did it come from? Who benefits from how you use it? Who holds you accountable? And how can we remove you? If we cannot remove those in charge, we do not have a true democracy. Right now, we lack these basic democratic protections. Accountability, so representation of the voters. There should be a mechanism to ensure the government is accountable to the voters who elected them. For major issues that significantly impact people's lives, the government should consult both their party members and the public. Currently, there is no discussion, consultation or accountability for decisions, and giving the government complete freedom is not acceptable. This approach already works in trade unions. When dealing with issues like health and safety or laws, unions represent all workers, not just their members. Debate needs to happen. What is acceptable for the government to act without consultation and what must have a different process of engagement and decision making, those limits require definition. Job descriptions and terms of contracts and conditions of employment. So the MP's job descriptions must accurately lay out expectations together with the limits of their powers. Pay, terms, benefits, perks and conditions of employment must be unambiguous. We would strongly suggest that local government policies and terms of reference are used for grievances and sickness disciplinaries. One system should work well here so there are no loopholes. Disciplinary and legal action following a full investigation when a breach of the ministerial code has taken place. Code of conduct to include conflict of interest, second jobs, again using local government policies. Should snap elections be allowed? The term snap election is often misused. It's when a government calls an election with little warning, catching other parties and voters off guard. This should only happen in extreme cases such as where the government is about to collapse. If that happens, the party calling the election should pay for it, not the public. Why should taxpayers cover the cost of a government's failure? Proper notice should be given to ensure all parties have a fair chance to prepare. Snap elections shouldn't be used as a trick to help a struggling government gain an unfair advantage. simplifying UK democracy and reducing cost. So the UK has too many layers of government, local councillors, council cabinet members, district and county council MPs, mayors MPs, who are also cabinet members, and the Prime Minister. This creates a lot of bureaucracy, wasting time and money with overlapping roles. We need a thorough investigation to find out how much all these roles and offices costs and where we can cut back. There's no doubt we can reduce the number of positions and streamline how things are done. This issue is already being looked at by Charlotte Gill and Woke Waste. We should all be working together to reduce the financial burden. The problem with the current system is the overlap of work undertaken by councillors and MPs to the extent that cabinet ministers have very limited time to represent the voters who put them into office. Within the full austerity period of the Conservatives, no cutbacks of any noticeable savings were made. This cannot be said for all public services that were severely reduced. There is no better example of this than the circumstances surrounding the Grenfell fire. We spend billions of taxpayers' money on elections and the different levels of government that represent the UK public. In 2024, over 2,500 councillors were elected. The local government budget for 2024 to 25 is 127.1 billion, which is 7.2% more than the previous year. Electing just one mayor in Yorkshire cost £2.2 million. The total council tax requirement for the Greater London Authority in 2025 to 26 is over 1.58 billion. These costs keep adding up, so any future government must focus on accountability and ensuring this money is well spent. We firmly believe all opposition parties, groups, influencers and celebrities who oppose the government and the corrupt system should negotiate and campaign, so that we can agree on the above list of improvements to the system through compromise and mutual agreement on a set agenda and principles for a government that works for the people. This would not affect individual groups' specific aims and objectives. Otherwise, history will look back and rightly blame all complicitly for not doing what is required, rather than blindly and arrogantly pursuing their own agenda above the needs of the country. And this is from Michael Alsbury and Laura Taylor-Van.